Welcome back to the Open Wide the Doors podcast here at the St. John Paul II Parish Family. I'm your host for today, Erin Wright. And for many of us, social media is a part of daily life. And depending on the day, it can feel either inspiring or overwhelming. We often hear about the harm that can come from social media, and there's a lot of truth in that. But today, we're going to talk about the other side of social media, another side of the story. Social media is also a mission field. When used with intention, it can become a place where the gospel is shared, beauty is highlighted, and God's love reaches people we may never meet in person. So today, we're going to be talking about faith in the feed. And we're joined today by Sarah Merkel, our parish graphic designer and our parish school marketing director. And she's going to help us talk about social media and how social media can be used for faith and evangelization, and how our parish is striving to do just that. So thank you, Sarah, for joining us.
Thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here.
So to get us started, you've been on this podcast before, so welcome back. But to get us started, what's your favorite kind of content to create or share?
Yeah, well, I think I am naturally drawn to content that evokes emotion. And so I think as a creator, that's what I like to share the most. So whether that be a beautiful photo or video or something that kind of showcases a moment in time,
Yeah.
um, that's what I'm always looking for is evoking emotion. Sometimes when you are working in an environment like I do here at the parish and at school, where it's an organization, there's kind of business that has to be posted all the time,
Hmm.
and that's important. Like, this is happening at this time, at this place, and there's a time and place for that, and it's very important. But I think what I'm most passionate about posting is kind of that other side of content that feels a little bit more personal. It can kind of feel harder to create sometimes because we are an institution made up of many members, but so it can kind of feel hard to narrow the view down to
Hmm.
a moment in time or an individual in a way that can kind of make somebody think or, yeah, bring about that emotion. But when it happens, I think that's my favorite.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I love seeing content like that. My favorite content to see and share as well is just like things about our faith that I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe like someone put this into words, like what we believe, or like some like quotes or something like that, especially from John Paul II. He has a lot of little nuggets that I'm like, oh my gosh, that's he said that. Like that makes so much sense, and it's so amazing and so powerful that it really strikes your heart. But yeah, the content that like makes whatever you're seeing on a screen pull more of an emotion, more of a reaction than just oh, I saw it and then scroll past it kind of thing. So it's definitely harder to create content like that.
Yeah, because I think that for me, like that can't be manufactured.
Hmm.
And, so you have to kind of there's an element of luck, right? Like, there's an element of, like, capturing a moment, that it's kinda like right place, right time.
Yeah.
Because when it is manufactured, I think we've all seen that, like, on our pages where it's, like, something that's, super scripted or super, well, now with AI, that's a whole 'nother tangent, but, I think you can kinda tell still when things are manufactured or faked, and to really so yeah, there's magic that comes from, like, a true authentic being there, capturing a moment in time that there's just, like, an element of luck, so it can be really hard
Yeah.
as a creator to capture that. I do think that the other side of that is kind of something not just something that evokes emotion, but also, like, makes you think, kind of what you were just saying about,
Hmm.
like, those quotes or when people kind of compile images combined with, like, saint quotes or
Hmm.
whatever, that I really love that too because I do sometimes think that, every once in a while there'll be a zinger that, like, makes me think and sticks
Hmm.
with me throughout the day,
Hmm.
uh, and,
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It's there's a lot of beautiful content out there, and it's can be challenging to create. And yeah, to your point that it's you can't manufacture it, and it's more whatever that person may be like going through in that moment, and you don't know where they're at, what they're doing, but like something could come across completely different to one person compared to another. So yeah, it's fun to create content like that, but it's challenging.
Yeah.
So yeah. So yeah, social media, as I kind of mentioned, and often gets a bad reputation, and for a good reason at times. There's a decent bit of bad media out there. But from your perspective, what are some of the challenges?
Yeah, man. Sometimes, especially these days, it does feel like the challenges outweigh the good. And it is something that I am constantly, discerning. But things that immediately come to mind, I think, in general, are kind of that compare game that can happen. So
Yeah.
it's like kind of fluctuates between like these two extremes. Like you're either in an algorithm that's an extreme echo chamber, or like you're in this like weird compare thing. Like I
Mhm,
don't and it evokes jealousy, and it evokes like I'm not doing something good enough, or it's not
yeah.
fair they have this or whatever. And there's kind of these like two things that can happen, and they're different but obviously very related. And so I think some of it too is obviously just like how much created content there is, and then like
Mhm,
overconsumption. There is this kind of like swing moving away from authenticity, especially with AI, that comes out, that then like from a social standpoint, obviously we see in our youth, like pretty much the research is all says like it's pretty bad for kids. There's like very little out there that suggests that there's anything redeeming about it for, kids under a certain
mhm,
age. And, I think, yeah, like the cool behind the keyboard element of social media, like
mm,
people are
mhm,
fearless. They feel like they can say whatever they want to say because they're like not looking you in the eye.
yeah,
It's extremely problematic. But also, even like as adults or as organizations, posting in that like ecosystem, it can be very one sided, right? It's like I have a microphone and I'm like talking to the ether, but like there's no discussion. I mean,
yeah,
even like comments and things like that, like it's really like once open discussion. It's not like what we're doing right now, where it's just like going back and forth. In a comment section on a social post, it's like I'm gonna write whatever I feel emboldened to say. And then like maybe 10 hours later you'll respond and maybe not. And like you can just say like something mean and move on with the rest of you know what I mean? Like
yeah.
so
Yeah, social media is definitely like very one-sided when you're producing content. It's like you said, you're posting these good moments that are happening in your life, and then somebody comes along and just sees the good moments. No one's seeing the what's the rest of your life look like, and then that's where jealousy and what am I doing wrong, and like why can't I have that life? Why can't I have those things? Why can't I be like that? Kind of mindset comes in, and there's no conversation to really see what is actually happening in that person's life. And then there's the other side that you said, you're just posting whatever and you're saying all of these things, and then to who?
yeah.
Sometimes some people will respond, and sometimes people are just like, all right, you just said that thing and moving on. And so there's definitely a lot of challenges, especially if you're trying to just share good things with your life. Um, yeah. So what we've kind of talked about, addressed some of the problems and some of the issues of social media. What opportunities do you see that often get overlooked in social media?
I think that people like are on social media all the time. And so if you look at social media, like you said in the intro, like as a mission field, it is an opportunity that people don't to like be there, right? To be a face of good, to bring Christ to people, to bring truth and goodness and beauty into the world. So there is still that opportunity there. People spend a lot of time scrolling their phones
Mhm,
and they're gonna see a lot of really bad stuff. That's it's after dinner and sit on the couch or scrolling for 30 minutes, turns into an hour. You're probably gonna see a lot of objectively bad stuff, and then you're gonna see a little bit of, like, stuff that's, like, fine, but makes you either jealous or makes you anxious or makes you like,
mhm,
you know what I mean? Like, evokes something in you negatively. Anyway, so you kind of have those 2 things that are, like, gonna come at you in that 30 minutes that really turned into an hour.
yeah.
Uh, so I think there is an opportunity to bring beauty, truth, and goodness into that space.
Mhm,
Um and like hopefully be like, 10% of that time. And I think that does get overlooked right now with the dialogue and rhetoric being like kind of more like anti-social media or like focusing on the harms because it is kind of I feel like it is new. It's obviously not new, but it's new in the sense that like regulations, policies, those
Mhm.
things haven't caught up yet.
Yeah.
And now we're all having this like, oh no moment of
Yeah.
like, oh, well, we got to reel this in. And so you're starting to see like regulations and age restrictions and all the stuff that is really important. And I am like, yes, 10 years too late. Um, I feel like you hear a lot of the negativity right now because it's all surrounding those regulations, which I think, again, is really important. But I still hope personally that there's an opportunity there and that we can continue to show up in that space and bring about some good.
Absolutely. It is a very good place. I mean, there's a lot of bad going on, but there's a lot of bad going on in the world too. It's not just all condensed down to social media and our electronics and how we're communicating virtually with everybody. There's still a lot of bad in the world. And, there's social media was created, at least I think, for a way for people to stay connected without like actually being present in that person's life. Like after high school, after you graduate, family members who live across the country, across the world. Like it's a way to stay connected. And I definitely think that the devil has come in to this and kind of twisted it and made it into something where it's not like we're consuming this and we're seeing all of the good things that are happening in those whoever's life, and instead of necessarily like rejoicing for them and being like, oh my gosh, that's so cool, I'm so glad they're in Europe for the third time this year.
Yeah.
like but instead of just like feeling happy, you're just the devil is like, what are you doing wrong that you're not in Europe? Or like, why
Mhm.
you should be in Europe? Like, they shouldn't be. But, it's social media is another platform for us to share good news, share the good word, because there is a lot of bad that's going out there in the world, everywhere we're going, everywhere we're at. It's another opportunity for us to just share God's love and also rejoice and be happy for those who are sharing the good things that are happening in their life.
Yeah. Yeah. I have used the analogy before. Like, if you take like your role as like, in mission to be, like one of ministry, that I've used the analogy of like a shepherd and a shepherd's staff. Like you're the shepherd, right? But that the staff is like whatever tool you're using in the moment. And so I think
Oh, yeah.
that analogy is true for a lot of things in communications. And I think it's important to delineate it, right? Like
Mhm.
we're not evangelizing because of social media. Like we're using social media to evangelize. And like we're also gonna use the website. We're gonna use our conversations with random people at the grocery store. We have other tools to use as well, but it's just like one of the tools.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that analogy. Like it's shepherd and then the the hook is the tool that you're using. Like
Yeah.
I haven't thought of that before this. That is so cool because yeah, I mean we're called to evangelize everywhere we go, and share the good news. And it's just a matter of what tool. Are you using your phone to retweet something? Are you using your computer to post something on a website? Or are you like using your voice to have a conversation with somebody? Yeah, the tool is different and it changes, but that's so cool.
Yeah. I think it helps keep it like personal. Like evangelization happens person to person.
Yeah.
So yeah, a beautiful post or a beautiful photo can evoke emotion, can make people think, can do all these wonderful things. But at the end of the day, like they're gonna come to know God through other people,
Mm,
through conversation and dialogue and love and service and all these things that are done person to person. And yeah, so social media can be a tool, but I think it's always important to remember that how important like the personal touch is and that like to not lose the humanity of
mm,
these conversations and these
yeah,
interactions
yeah,
and that like we are people. I am person and you are another person. And right now we're talking across the table with a microphone in between us, but like on Saturday we might be talking on a platform, right? So
yeah, yeah. It is so easy to forget when you're staring at a screen that there's another person on the other side of the screen, and whatever conversation you may be having, whatever content you may be creating, sharing, or consuming, there's another person on the other side of that, and the screen takes away the humanity of it, and you can forget that there is another person, but there is another person
Yeah.
to remember and to think of and pray for. So, yeah. So we are kind of talking about evangelization, and the church calls us to evangelize wherever people are. How does social media fit into that mission today?
Yeah. I think that it people are on social media. Like that's what the research suggests, that pretty much everybody has at least one platform that they're on. It's increasingly rare and rare that you find somebody who like is on like nothing. And so I would just say that like if all these other brands are going to be there, if all these other businesses are going to be there, if all these other people with all their opinions, then the church should be there too. I think there is still a lot of discernment that could be done in terms of like how much and how much of a priority social media should be. Again, like going back to that, you know, that the importance of like relationship. So I think again, people prioritize it incorrectly and then like we lose that like relationship element. But I think it's still really important. Like we should be there. Like we the church should be there. We should be spreading good news. But that also means going back kind of to like that, the first question about the not so good parts. I think for us, that means being discerning about what we post, right? Not even like, even just me personally, really sitting back before I post and thinking to myself, like, I don't think I'm spreading good, right? Like, I think I'm going to post a pretty picture of a sunset and a quote about a saint or something, but kind of being perfectly discerning for my own self, like, okay, why am I doing this? Like, what's my intention behind it? Because the last thing people need is like more junk in their feed or just like talking for the sake of talking. So it's just hard.
Absolutely. Yeah. And yeah, I like that you pointed out like you need to take time to look at yourself and reflect on why you're sharing what you're sharing, what it is, what you hope will come of your sharing of a quote or Bible verse or whatever. Because yeah, it can be kind of a saying something just to say something, but like it can also come across as righteous, like self righteous,
Mm,
like,
for sure.
if you are sharing this, like, quote, it's good to evangelize and it's good to share, the good news, but, like, oversharing content about what we believe, it can come across like, "Oh, here's another quote, like, from this person," or, like, "This person is thinks that they're holier than I just because I'm not Catholic," or something like that, and there's a balance, and it's definitely a fine line between figuring out how to properly share God's word, God's love with those around us and becoming too preachy about it. And that can be true in everyday conversations and everyday relationships too, not just on social media. There's that fine line of how much am I sharing too much information? Am I pushing this person away from coming to know the Lord or am I actually drawing them in? Like it can be hard to discern that.
Yeah. I think it's important to discern too, like as consumers of content, obviously it's important to discern kind of like, why am I feeling this way? Why, when I watch this, did I feel way more stressed or way more anxious? You know, why am I on social media for so long? Those kinds of things. And then as creators, we just like, I think we sometimes think that we get the like, when we are acting as consumers, we feel like this like need to regulate ourselves, which is really important. Push back and say creators also need to regulate ourselves and really discern what we're posting, why we're posting it. Are we trying to brag? Are we trying to virtue signal? Are we trying to like do these things?
Mhm.
Are we trying to bring about a greater good, or are we like contributing to a bigger problem?
Absolutely. There's so much content that's being produced and just taking time to reflect and discern, is what I'm posting going to be beneficial to someone? Is that going to change someone's heart? Or is it just, I feel like I just need to share this just because I thought it was cool or
Yeah,
I don't know. You can share some things like that you think are cool. I mean, that's nothing necessarily wrong with that, but just taking time to reflect on the true meaning behind this post. And yeah, and I like that you pointed out that we should be reflecting on the same thing when we're consuming the content. Like, why are we feeling this way? Why, when whatever type of content comes across our screen, why do we feel happy, sad, anxious, whatever? Um, yeah, there's a lot of emotions that come up through social media, and it is very important to take time to discern where it's coming from and instead of just letting those emotions sit in, like taking time to figure out, are they coming from God? Are they coming from the evil one who's trying to deter us from the Lord? So we kind of mentioned that there's a lot of creativity that goes into producing content. How can creativity help break down barriers for people who may feel distant from the church?
Yeah, I think that's such a good question because creativity, I think, is so important, but sometimes feels missing in today's landscape of like social media content because everything starts to feel pretty mass produced. Like as like everybody feels like they need to rush to the scene to talk about some topic or whatever. And then it feels very mass produced and not very creative. So I think for me, art has always been used for those purposes, right? To make people think or experience God, wonder and awe, those
Hmm.
kinds of things, right? And I think sometimes true art is missing from social media. Like they're not one in and of the same, right? Like we say create content, but sometimes we mean like mass produce content, right? Like we mean like share details and information and mimic what somebody else is doing and all this stuff. But to truly create, like, what does it mean to create? I think that's like a whole podcast in and of itself, right? Like to create as the creator creates, like to make something from nothing. It's not, well, obviously not like we are merely a mirror shining God's light, right? So
Hmm.
we are not ever creating from nothing, right? Like we're always using the gifts and experiences that God has given us or the things around us to create something. And so when that happens, I think, of course, it can help people come to know the person of God. How can it not? Right?
Hmm.
Like, if you have ever seen a photo of one of the wonders of the world or like, a remote mountain range in the middle of nowhere or something like that, and you've never been there, but you've seen like a beautiful photo of it, and
Hmm.
you're like, that's wild that that exists. I absolutely believe that that can make you come to know that
Yeah.
just not necessarily in the same way that being on that mountain helps you to know God, but in a very similar way. And I think too, like if you look at art, from in the history of the church, using art to tell stories and teach the faith. This is things that have like this isn't new, right? This is like,
Hmm.
in fact, in a lot of ways, we've gone so far away from that. So I believe 100% you can use creativity in art to bring about God's love in the world and to help people come to know that. I think the hard thing is figuring out how to do that in digital media in general.
Hmm.
It is very possible. Like I just used the example of photography, right? But day in and day out, it can be harder and harder. And I think we're losing some of that creativity in the name of like mass production, consumerism, like all these things. Like we're selling a product, we're trying to get information, we're trying to convince you of something versus like introduce you of something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. You pointed out that if you see a picture of a beautiful mountain or something like that, even if you haven't been there, it can be moving. We see beautiful content and out there, it can be moving and it can truly inspire you. And it's for those people who aren't necessarily coming to church, coming who know the Catholic Church. Photography and beautiful content can help open that window, open that door for them to like see what's out there, see what the church looks like, what the church believes without actually having to step foot in a church. Because the Catholic Church can be pretty intimidating for some people. It can be scary to walk in if you're not Catholic or whatever and like but having that window, having the opportunity through social media for someone just to kind of get a glimpse of the beauty of our faith, of our church, it can kind of inspire them and like intrigue them. Like, ooh, what is this about? Maybe I should start like asking questions, or maybe I should go visit this church or visit a church like this or something like that. It can definitely just give people an opportunity to dip their toe in the water a little bit.
Yeah.
So one of the unique things about social media is that it reaches people far beyond those who come to mass. Why is that important for parish life?
Yeah. So for just in general, evangelization, right, is going out and meeting people where they are. And it would be a very like, the church would die if we only ever talked to the people that were inside our pews, right?
Absolutely.
Like, that's just the reality. So, um, I think it's and I think that's hard, like, it's way easier to talk to you than it is to talk to a stranger, and so that's super hard to do, to talk to people that are outside of Sunday mass, but I think social media is, again, one of those tools in our tool belt that we can use for sure to reach them, because how do you reach them, right? I think first and foremost, personal relationship and modeling the faith, living like being a happy and loving person of virtue and in the world, people will want that for themselves. And then they're like, I wonder why Erin is like so joyful all the time. She's involved in this parish. Like, I think that that's like a natural progression, right? And then they might
Yeah.
start asking questions and like you might start answering them. And then next thing you know, like you're having a conversation about the faith, right? That's kind of like, I think, the best way. But social media can for sure facilitate those conversations, especially those beginning parts, right? Like those, like you said, like seeing it, like, oh, I see that Erin always goes to Sunday mass, or like I see that Erin's going through this really hard thing, but like her feed's always really joyful. Like I think it can facilitate those first beginning parts that lead up to those conversations really well. And so yeah, I think it is an important way to reach those people.
Absolutely. Yeah, it can be that conversation starter that gets people intrigued and interested into learning more, whether that's through doing the research on their own or coming to church on their own or reaching out to you and asking questions and having more of a personal relationship with you. It can be truly beautiful to just to spark that interest, spark that conversation because yeah, it's we get into a rhythm of we go to church, we go to work, we go to the store, we get into this rhythm and we have our set places of where we're going. We have this list of set people that we're talking to on a daily or regular basis, but it is not very common for us to reach outside of who we are already talking to on a regular basis. And social media can be one of those avenues where we can reach out to people who we don't see or talk to very often, and maybe have an impact on their lives and maybe get them to learn more about the faith and come to know God and come to church, really. It's a beautiful tool to use sparingly, like, when you discern and it's, like, a good time to share content or whatever, but it can be a really beautiful tool to just have those conversations with people that you wouldn't normally on a daily basis. But obviously, like, a personal relationship is much better than, just putting something out into the ether, so
Yeah, I think that we all have like a story, I'm sure, those of us who are on social media, where it's like, oh, I never haven't talked to this person in years. And then they like post something and that, like, for whatever reason, seemingly random, like makes you want to reach out to them or like
Mhm.
makes you want to go do something or whatever. Like, oh, I saw that so and so, went to the new coffee shop. I've been meaning to go there. Like, I drove by that new coffee shop 3 times this past month. And then, like, I saw that my best friend from high school that I haven't talked to in 10 years was there. Like, that makes you wanna go, right?
Yeah.
I think that the same can be you can take that and the same could be true within the context of the faith. I think, like, to put business terms on it, like, we've heard that, like, marketing adage, if you will, like this idea, this concept that like somebody has to hear something 7 times before it sticks with them. Brands will use that as like an idea of like, oh, like we have to hit them 7 times, right? Or at least 7 times or whatever. And I think obviously like, when you put business terms on the faith, it always just like makes it's I always hesitate to do that. But if you're gonna take that as truth, then I think social media can be one of those times, right? Like, it's not gonna be all of them. I'm not sitting here thinking, like, how we reach people who are not at Sunday mass is through social media, right? But I do think that it could be one of those ways that we do, and that, like, truthfully, a person's journey to the church has many, 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 many steps, probably way more than we even like, we could probably sit here and come up with, like, 10,
Mm.
and it probably is double that we can't even think of, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I think social media and interactions on social media platforms could be some of those steps.
Yeah, for sure. You're right. It's not just when you're calling people to church and you're like trying to get people to come to church, come to the faith. it is social media is definitely not the one tool that is going to draw them in. It may be a tool that makes them take a step, but yeah, you're right. It's one of those. Like it's one tool that'll help them take a step, and we just need to be present and helping to impact other people's lives in person and through different platforms and whatever we can do. But social media is definitely not the one cure, the one thing that is going to get all of these people coming into
Yeah.
the church. It really can be a vital tool to just get one step, like
Yeah.
one foot in the door at least. So let's kind of talk about how to use social media practically. For parishioners scrolling at home, what does it look like to use social media intentionally as people of faith, like sharing a post, or how can parishioners use this as an evangelization tool?
Yeah, I think, sharing your own story, sharing your own experiences is always gonna be the most important thing, being discerning about what you post. But always yeah, I always think that sharing your own experiences, coming it from like a, "This is how this made me feel," or "This is I did this and then this came of it," is always the most impactful for people.
Yeah, having a real story rather than just like posting only the good. I mean, not saying that anybody has to reveal their whole life story and like all of their deepest, darkest troubles that they may be going through, but sharing real aspects of life rather than just only the smiles and the good moments that happen in life. Genuine happiness, I mean, that's another way. I mean, you can share genuine happiness, whatever is like truly genuine and truly like it's real. It's not manufactured. It's not like, oh, I want to create a post about my time at the zoo or something like that. So I'm going to go through all of the pictures with my kids and the ones that were smiling, the kids were smiling, I'm going to share and not share all of the ones where the kids are crying, where like my feet hurt or whatever. But like you can sharing more real content, real life content, is can definitely be more impactful than just the manufactured, only good stuff out there.
Yeah, I think people crave that, like, authenticity.
Yeah, absolutely. So how do balance and discernment play a role when using social media? Like how can we discern what is needed or what content we should be putting out there?
Yeah, if you know the answer to that, yeah, I think you could sell that, for a lot of money. I think that's the question on everybody's heart right now,
Mhm,
right? Is like, how much is too much? What's true? What's not true? How do you make sure, like, what do you do about people who are like spreading lies? What do you do about people who are being mean? All of these things. And I don't think I have an answer. I can just say that for me personally, trying to perfectly discern everything that I post and everything that I consume, and then admitting when I'm wrong. And I think that is hard too, right? It's
mhm,
like sometimes one day if you're in the social media landscape, chances are one day you're going to post something that you shouldn't have. Um, I think admitting when that happens is important as well because it is how much is too much, right? Like, and also like, especially through the context of the faith, because like, what if you post something and 10 people get mad and one person's life is changed? Like, how do you figure that out? Like, how do
mhm.
you weigh that, right?
Yeah.
And who gets to say that it was worth it or not worth it? And that's just that's so hard, and I really don't feel like I have an answer, but I just pray that God, knows our intention and uses it, to bring about a greater good, and, and maybe we'll know, what was right and what was wrong, but
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's super hard.
Yeah, I mean, there is a fine line between posting content and like not like for a good reason versus not really for a good reason. And you mentioned praying before you post something, especially faith related. That could be a huge like tool to help you discern, obviously, like if this post is worth whatever trouble or whatever may come your way after in the virtual world, but it's taking time to pray and not posting out of emotion. That's another thing. It's like I feel like a lot of people will like come from an experience and like I have to share this because it impacted me so in this way. Like I'm mad, or I'm like, or you come from a retreat or something like that, and you are feel the need to like post your experience, and those emotions and everything are valid, but taking time to make a decision that is not emotionally driven and more prayerfully driven and what the Lord is actually calling you to do.
Yeah. I often will pray a short prayer that I've prayed since like high school, I'm pretty sure. And I have not gotten this right. So this is not me saying like, do as I do. This is me saying like, I'm very much on a journey and this is one thing that I do. And I do it outside of the context of social media, probably more than ever. But honestly, after having this conversation, I feel like I should bring it into my work in social media too. But the prayer that I often repeat is, Lord, help me to say yes to the things I need to say yes to and no to the things I need to say no to. That is what has to happen so much more in our everyday life. But when it comes to posting, that's it, right? It's like, because sometimes do I believe that God can use us to post something that somebody else needs to see that might be hard for us to post? Yeah. But that's a fine line, right? Of like really knowing. So yeah, trying to our best to say yes to the things that we should say yes to and no to the things that we should say no to and trying to figure it out, you know,
Yeah.
on the way.
That's a beautiful prayer. I'm gonna have to start praying that more. That is, I don't know that I've heard that. That makes sense, and I think I've prayed similar prayers, but like something that's like pretty simple, and it's like, yeah, help me to do your will. Help me to say yes to you, what you want me to say yes to, and no to the things that you want me to say no to.
Yeah, because I think sometimes there could be good, like, that you're not supposed to say yes to. Like, you're not just only supposed to say yes to, like, every good thing on the planet, right?
Hmm.
And, like, as I've gotten older and now I'm a mom and now I have all these responsibilities, like, outside of myself, that's even more so, right? Like, I have to constantly discern, like, if I'm doing this good thing, but it's taking away from this other good thing, then, like, how do you do that, right? And so, yeah, I try to pray that prayer to truthfully ask God, like, help me figure out which of these 2 good things am I supposed to say yes to? And then obviously on the bad side, like, if there's something that I'm supposed to say no to, like, give me the courage to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. God is calling us to something bigger than what we know,
Yeah.
and it can truly be hard and difficult to discern what it is that He is calling us to. So, a simple prayer like that, I feel like would be very helpful in that discernment process. Well, thank you, Sarah, for joining us today and talking to us about social media. Social media is not inherently bad or good. It's a tool, really. And like any tool, its impact depends on how we choose to use it. When rooted in faith, kindness, and truth, social media can become a space where the gospel is shared, hope is offered, and God's love is made visible. Of course, the process of discernment can be difficult and challenging. Discerning what is God calling you to say yes to post or no to post or share is so valuable. So, as we scroll, post, and share, may we remember that behind every screen is a person longing to be seen and loved. May our digital presence reflect Christ's love and invite others to encounter Him, even in the smallest ways. Until next time, God bless.